Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Let me share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Emerging Contaminants in Smaller Disadvantaged Communities, EC-SDC, MassDEP Drinking Water Program Grantee Training Webinar. So today we have two presenters. That's myself. I'm Abby Jacobs. I'm the EC-SDC Grant Program Manager for MassDEP, the Drinking Water Program, and Hannah Parson, our Program Manager for UMass Amherst. You can see our contact information there. All right, so to get everyone in the right frame of mind, here's the agenda of what we are covering today. First, I will give some background on the EC-SDC program. Then we'll talk about the process starting from the award letters, to contracts, to invoicing. Then we will go over grant requirements such as reporting, permitting, Build America, Buy America, BABA, and cybersecurity, and a few other grant requirements. Then Hannah will talk through our technical assistance available through UMass and through MassDEP. So to give a little bit of background on the EC-SDC program, on February 13th, 2023, the US EPA announced the EC-SDC grant program, and that was funded through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, commonly known as the bill. Sometimes we call it Bill, which is always interesting. EC-SDC provides states and territories with grants to public water systems, PWS, in small or disadvantaged communities to address emerging contaminants. So that includes PFAS and manganese, and any other contaminants on EPA's drinking water contaminant candidate list, usually abbreviated as CCL. So EPA allotted a total of $38,204,000 to Massachusetts for federal fiscal year 2022 and 2023 for this grant, and then $19,249,000 for federal fiscal year 24. And project and budget timeline is 6 years from Massachusetts receipt of funds. So that means that the 2022/2023 monies, that runs through September 2029, and the 2024 monies, it runs through 2030. So it's a little longer running grant than you'll see some other ones as. All right, next let me talk through a general of the EC-SDC grant process. So generally the grantees on the webinar, the public water systems, are at the award letter stage or further stage of this grant. So we're focusing that on your specific needs. So that means that generally MassDEP and EPA have confirmed your projects for funding. So we're basically starting here in that point in the process. Then the next step is the contracts are sent to the grantee, and the grantee reviews those, asks any questions, and then grantee, public water system, signs copies, the authorized person from the public water system. Then MassDEP reviews the completed contract forms, and we go through several internal processing steps. There are a few more steps if it's a larger award amount. And then the final of that part of the process is issuing the notice to proceed. And so that has a lot of great information in there. But essentially what the notice to proceed is shows that you can then submit invoices for reimbursement. So the next topic I wanted to go over was the project specifications document. So this is a new document that will provide all of your information on your project on just a few pages. So basically this is just an overview of your project. And this is part of the contract package that's required by MassDEP's Office of General Counsel. So Those projects that are not yet completed and haven't gone through the entire process will receive this form to review and sign. So it's really just an overview which pulls details of your project as indicated on your scope of work, so the SOW, and your budget forms and other forms that you've sent in to us. So as we roll out, there's going to be some more communication on that in the coming weeks. So keep an eye on your email for that communication. Okay, so another change we have is the invoicing template. So it's essentially a cover sheet for your invoices. So once you have your notice to proceed. So this template, for those grantees that don't have their notice to proceed yet, this will be sent along with the notice to proceed letter. So otherwise, if you already have your notice to proceed letter, we'll send it out individually through another email. So keep an eye out for that. And ensure that you save a copy as a template and include this with each batch of invoices that you submit to MassDEP. So let's briefly go through the invoicing template. So at the top, please include your organization's letterhead and include the date, or at least identify your organization. And this template is generated for each public water system. You'll see that some of it is already filled in. So like your PWS name, ID number, and other IDs, such as the MMARS and vendor codes, and the federal unique entity ID number. So we can go up to here. You want to make sure you include the date of your cover sheet, and you want to include the reimbursement request number. So if it's your first one, start with 1 and then counting up sequentially for the next invoice submittal. And then you want to include the dates that the costs were incurred from. So in month, day, year, through month, day, year, and the number of invoices that you're attaching to this invoice template or invoice cover sheet. So then you want to list in this table, list your vendor, the invoice date that's on the invoice number that's on the invoice, and then a brief description of the invoice, and then that invoice amount. And you do that for each invoice that you would include with this form. Then you total up the amount indicated for all the invoices here in this total of invoices box. So the next table to fill in is the balance of grant award table. So in our example, example City Hall, their award amount was $65,000. So that's pre-populated here and would be in your invoice template for each public water system. So then you want to indicate the total of any previous invoices that you've submitted to us, plus the total of all the invoices that were above in this table up here, and then the remaining balance column. So basically you would add the total amount of previous invoices plus the total of all invoices, and then subtract that from the award amount to get the remaining balance. Then you would want to read the certification statements very carefully and indicate your information, your name, title, phone, email, and sign the form. That can be an electronic signature. And then you would submit this to the program director email, and you can see the email down here. We'll have that email throughout this presentation because that is a good main contact for anything you have question-wise. Okay, so the next topic and grant requirement is the monthly report. So this report notifies us of any delays, any status of the project, or any changes in key personnel. So on a monthly basis, please complete the customized EC-SDC monthly progress report template. And that's sent to you with your notice to proceed letter. So if you don't have your notice to proceed letter yet, then you need to send us monthly reports until that's all set and go. So you'd want to please complete this, and you want to submit it by the 15th of the following month. So for example, the November 2024 report, that was due on December 15th. And you'd want to submit that to program-director-dwp@mass.gov email, so our general email. And if you can put in the subject line your ID number and progress report and EC-SDC, that'll help us route it to the correct person. And if you can CC that to Andrew Andresco as well. And then those documents, like the monthly report, will have a certain naming and structure of the report intact. And then you just want to add the month and year that the report's from. So in our example here, it would be November 2024, like in the name of the file. So, and if you need another copy of the monthly progress report, please just reach out to Andrew and he can go ahead and send that over to you really easily. So if any of your project details have changed from what's indicated on the scope of work documents, please indicate that in the monthly report. It's important for us to know if anything has changed. So let's just briefly talk through this one-page report. So you want to indicate the reporting period. So in our example is November 2024. And then it'll be pre-populated for number 2, 3, and 4. So your doc ID, your PWS name, and your ID. And then you'd want to indicate the program manager, your main contact for the project. Then indicate the project status. So that would be either ongoing, on hold, or completed. And then number 7 is a brief description of any work that's completed during the reporting period, so during that month. And then if you have an idea of an estimate or your expected completion date of the project, appreciate if you put that in there. And then if you have any other important notes that you think of regarding the project, so that can include any delays, as we said before, status of project, key in personnel, or anything else that's relevant to the project. And then we'd appreciate you putting who submitted the form and then the date the form was submitted. And so that would be sent to the program director email as indicated here. Okay, and then looking a little further down the line for some of the projects is the final report. And this looks pretty similar to the monthly report. And this is the last report that would be required for your project. And this would highlight any accomplishments. We'd love to see any photos, any data that you have, any lessons learned, and maybe any challenges. And honestly, anything that helped the PWS achieve its goals. So as a side note, just to let you know, MassDEP may hold back the last 10% of grant funding until all project tasks and project deliverables, such as this final report, are received. Okay, so let's go through this form as well briefly. So the first is project period. So in our example, it started in September 2024 and it went through June 2026 and would be completed, and this form would be completed in June 2026. So the next line items would be pre-populated, just like in the monthly report. Then you have a project manager, include them. And then here's where the bulk of it is number 6 and number 7. So it'd be great if you can, put a narrative of your project progress and your accomplishments, highlight any benefits to the community. As I said, attach photographs, data, anything that helped you achieve your goals, which, may include reducing emerging contaminants. So, and we always love to see any lessons that were learned, any challenges you ran into. And then finally, like the monthly report, indicate the name of the person submitting the form and the date the form is submitted. Okay, so the next topic is a requirement that comes from EPA. It's called Build America, Buy America. This applies to infrastructure and construction projects and grants that are over $250,000. So essentially, this means that materials and products for the projects must be built or bought in America, essentially. So specifically, that it applies to iron, steel, any manufactured products, and construction materials. It doesn't apply to things such as asphalt paving, temporary structures and materials that are removed at the end of the construction, any equipment and furnishings like desks, chairs, or computers, or anything that would be removed. So to demonstrate your compliance with this requirement is that you need to send us documentation, and that is a copy of a bid document or design plan, and that lists out the materials, and then as well as a copy of certification document from the manufacturer for each type of material, ensuring that it complies with BABA. So BABA does not apply to every EC-SDC project. So it doesn't apply to research and testing projects. If you have just sampling or pilot testing, and it doesn't apply to planning and design projects. And that's generally because they don't involve actual construction or use of those materials. So it's also not applicable to grant amounts less than $250,000 for construction. And EPA calls this the Small Project General Applicability Waiver. BABA also could not be applicable if the project has an EPA project level waiver or another waiver. So for example, EPA public interest waiver for design and planning, and if you initiated your design and planning prior to May 14th, 2022. So if your project has one of these waivers or you're interested in getting one of those waivers, you'd work directly with EPA, and we would need a copy of the waiver and a copy of planning design document, or a copy of your planning and design document if the design began before May 14th, 2022. All right, next we have topic of signage. So we really appreciate those projects who have already completed their signage provision and requirement. However, hot off the presses, EPA just recently informed MassDEP and other states that certain signage provisions publicizing that projects are funded by the bill are no longer required. So the signage is no longer required. So what MassDEP is going to do is we'll remove relevant language passed along from EPA to grantees with this requirement, and that would be part of our supplemental terms and condition documents. And so that would be for all new grant award contracts. So those of you who haven't gotten your contract yet, we would be taking that out at this point. So it'd be removed regarding signage. So for those of you who have an existing grant award contract, this is more on a case-by-case basis, and it may be amended to remove the relevant signage language. But generally, these requirements are not going to be enforced by MassDEP moving forward. So if you have already budgeted funds for signage and you haven't expended them, you can go ahead and rebudget those to other eligible EC-SDC activities. And if you need help with that, please reach out to us with any questions regarding the change in signage requirements. Okay. There we go. So the next requirement is the flood risk management standards requirement from EPA. So this is required if you're constructing a new above ground structure, such as, maybe a pump station or a new treatment plant. It can also be applicable if it includes some substantial improvement. So if the projects are worth more than 50% of the market value or replacement cost of the facility. It can also be applicable if you're addressing substantial damage to structures and facilities. So documentation needed for these type of projects, that includes certifying that the Massachusetts Climate Resilience Design Standards tool was used to identify additional risks, such as sea level rise, which is available online. And you'll see that link up here. We also require design documents showing the structure is outside the FEMA mapped 100-year floodplain, or the structure is above the 100-year floodplain. So for those projects that are within the 100-year floodplain or elevation, we would need a copy of your flood insurance from the grantee. So, and also note this bottom bullet. this is the location of the certification statement we would need for those projects that this is applicable to. All right, so the next requirement is regarding cybersecurity. So this is required if your project involves infrastructure components with operational technology, OT, with cybersecurity risk. So OT equipment, it's got a long definition here. Let me read that to you. It's defined as hardware and software that detects or causes a change to water treatment and/or distribution processes through the direct monitoring or control of physical devices, processes, and events in the enterprise. So OT equipment that presents a cybersecurity risk really includes equipment that is connected or may occasionally be connected after initial installation. And it would need to be connected to a computer, including for our alarm reporting, patching. It needs to be connected maybe to a network, local, a wide area, or an intranet, or it's remotely accessible. So please note that PWSs can include any related costs of software equipment for cybersecurity besides operation and maintenance costs under this grant. So that's something you're interested in. Let us know if you haven't already included. So documentation to ensure that you are completing this is a certification statement, and that states that you have performed a cybersecurity assessment. And that certification statement link can be found down here. Or if you have yet to perform a cybersecurity assessment or a certification then you would indicate in the certification statement that you have registered with EPA or with CISA, which is a Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, for a free assessment, or will perform a self-assessment within 30 days. So with another note is if you believe your system does not have operational technology, then we appreciate if you complete the ERP CSOT form, and that's so you can be exempt from this requirement. So you can see the link here for that. So for more information, you can go to the Cybersecurity Resource Hub for Massachusetts PWSs. You can always reach out to us with any questions, and that link to the hub is down here. All right. So the next topic is permits. Another important requirement is that grantees are responsible for obtaining any other local, state, or federal permits for their projects. And that includes permits through MassDEP. MassDEP permits are required for almost all EC-SDC projects. So please contact your regional MassDEP staff with any permitting questions, and you go through the permitting process. And if you're unsure who to contact, you can feel free to please reach out to the EC-SDC, such as myself, and we can connect you with whoever we need to connect as the MassDEP regional staff. So just a few examples of what permits that could be required from MassDEP is distribution modifications, new source forms, water treatment plant forms, and that includes for pilot studies, for construction, and for facility modifications, or chemical retrofit forms, well driller forms, groundwater forms, and lots of different permits needed. So please, again, just reach out to your regional MassDEP staff for that, and we can connect you if needed as well. Okay. So next is the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, which is commonly known as MEPA. Most EC-SDC projects will not require the MEPA review. So, for example, work inside an existing building would not require a MEPA review or a wetlands permit. So MEPA is determined generally early on in the process during the design phase of the project and before you enter into permitting. And they must fall under MEPA jurisdiction and meet MEPA review thresholds. So a project is under MEPA jurisdiction is undertaken by a state agency, requires a permit from state agency, or involves financial assistance or land transfer by a state agency. And then there's a whole list of thresholds that is included in MEPA that we can help work through with you. So work within a wetlands requires wetland variance, more than 5 acres impervious service, new withdrawal of source water, large withdrawal, large amount of water mains, and large drinking water plants over 1 million or more gallons per day in capacity. So MEPA may require environmental impact reports or environmental notification forms, so ENFs. And that is MEPA review of a project is initiated through the preparation and filing of an ENF, their environmental notification form. So in general, we recommend you work with your engineer and consultants on your project to determine if this is applicable. And if needed, you can talk to the MEPA team for an advisory opinion. And again, of course, you can always reach out to us as well. Okay, so the last slide on grant requirements and contract highlights, kind of a catch-all slide. So the standard contract form and supplemental terms and conditions that most of you have received so far, these include links to additional conditions, which can be easy to miss when you're looking at the forms. And please click on those links so you can see the other supplemental terms and conditions. So definitely don't want to miss that. And then also please respond within about 72 hours of communication from MassDEP. So the 72-hour response, it can be that you state that you received the email and you're working on the items in the email. Sometimes they're a little longer and take more time. And a lot of times those are emails regarding grant requirements like BABA or cybersecurity or something like that. We also appreciate communication and notify us of public or media events you're having regarding your EC-SDC project. And if you have any contact personnel changes, any more emails that you want us to add on or personnel, please let us know. Or if someone has left or what have you, always want to make sure we're connecting with the correct people for your public water system regarding the EC-SDC grant and any other MassDEP communications. So, and then one other note for would probably not be applicable to most projects, but there are audit requirements that are automatic for projects spending more than $1 million within a fiscal year. All right, so now I'm going to hand this over to Hannah for the UMass portion.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everyone. We wanted to make you aware of some technical assistance that is available to you as grantees of this program. This assistance is available both through MassDEP staff, but as well as staff at UMass Amherst. UMass Amherst staff are available to help you with a number of different aspects of this program, much of what you just heard about from Abby as well. Some of these bullet points, since you all are likely a little further along in your project planning process, since you are already grantees and have been awarded funds under this program, some of these may not apply, but others certainly will. So assistance providers are available to help with project planning if you are early in the process and need help getting your project started. If you are aware that you have an emerging contaminant problem, but are not exactly sure how you plan to address that yet, assistance providers are available to help with that aspect of project planning, as well as completing scopes of work and budget forms in order to get grant funds under this program, including compiling eligibility documentation. Some that may be more applicable to you as existing grantees of this program, we are available to help you with navigating some of the grant requirements that Abby just spoke about, including BABA, permitting, MEPA, all of the above, as well as the project reporting and invoicing forms that were also covered in this presentation, as well as just general questions about the EC-SDC grant program or other grant requirements. And if you're interested in receiving any of this assistance or have questions, again, the best contact information is the MassDEP Drinking Water Program Program Director, email address, program.director-dwp@mass.gov, or you can also contact the UMass Amherst Drinking Water Assistance Center at drinkingwater@umass.edu with the subject line EC-SDC TA support, and we will be in contact with you. Since you're already grant recipients of this program as well, you likely have someone that you have already been in contact with in the program. You can also feel free to contact that individual that you already have a connection with, and they can refer you over to UMass for additional assistance as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also wanted to make you aware of another service that is currently available to you at UMass Amherst as grantees under this program. It's also available to any small or disadvantaged public water system that is dealing with an emerging contaminant issue, and that is the laboratory services for water testing that are available at UMass Amherst. Primarily, these services are available for pilot or bench scale testing of treatment. We have services available both on-site at UMass Amherst labs, as well as services that are available to come to your PWS on-site as well. Services that are available at UMass labs may include jar testing, rapid small-scale column testing, or bench-scale pilot testing. And we also have use of the Mobile Water Innovation Laboratory to use on-site at your PWS location for on-site pilot testing. You may be aware of the Mobile Water Innovation Laboratory already if you are aware of the PFAS point of use device study that was undertaken between MassDEP Drinking Water Program and UMass Amherst. So these services will be available on a case-by-case basis as determined by MassDEP and UMass. So we really encourage you that if you're interested in any of these services, you contact us so that we can talk about the specifics of your project or needs, testing needs, and determine if this is the right fit for you. So definitely, if you're interested, please again contact either the MassDEP Drinking Water Program or the Drinking Water Assistance Center at UMass with subject EC-SDC UMass Lab Services, and we will be in contact to discuss further about your needs. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Hannah. So just a couple more slides here. Upcoming MassDEP Drinking Water Program presentation, and around in early February, the date is still to be determined. We do general presentation about EC-SDC and emerging contaminants that is for a wider audience. So you'll see a communication about that in January regarding this webinar that'll be coming up. And then with that, I want to note, thank you guys all so much for your time and attention. And if anyone has any questions, we'll move on to the Q&A portion. And then please know all the contact information here. So myself, Hannah, hers is up higher. And then any questions that you have regarding contracting or invoicing, you can reach out to Janine Bishop or Andrew Andresco here at MassDEP. And then if you're not really sure who to reach out to, always good to submit the program director email, and we can route that to whoever it would be best to route to. So with that, Rebecca, if you can go ahead and turn off the recording for this, and we can enter the